Thank you to our witnesses for being here. And I want to add my prayers and thoughts for the CBP officers, the officer who was fatally wounded and those who are gravely wounded, and to their families. I think it's fair to say that the people of New Hampshire and the United States are holding these brave men and women in our prayers. I also wanted to take the opportunity, although he has stepped out for a moment, just to thank Ranking Member Portman for his years of service and for his work on this committee and for the bipartisan work that he has led. And again, to all of the witnesses, but more importantly to the men and women you lead, thank you, to them, their families. The first priority of government is to ensure the safety and security of its citizens, and your work is really critical to that mission. Director Abizaid, I want to start with a question to you and then a follow-up to the other two witnesses. When we held this hearing a year ago, some assessments indicated that in the wake of the United States withdrawal from Afghanistan, al-Qaeda would have the ability to reconstitute itself and threaten the United States homeland within 1 to 2 years. Here we are 1 year later. To the extent that you can discuss it in an unclassified setting, what is the National Counterterrorism Center's assessment of al-Qaeda's capability to threaten the U.S. homeland?
Thank you very much for the question. Al-Qaeda's capability to threaten the United States homeland from Afghanistan is quite limited, in part thanks to the operation that killed Ayman al-Zawahiri in Kabul here recently, but also because the al-Qaeda elements that are still present in Afghanistan are really not focused on external operations as far as we can tell. There are other terrorist elements in Afghanistan that we are concerned about, primarily ISIS's branch there, ISIS Khorasan, but the threat from al-Qaeda should be disaggregated from that, I think, given the very unique circumstances around that group, its relationship with the Taliban, and some of the specifics in which it has evolved over the years.
Well, thank you. Director Wray and Secretary Mayorkas, do you agree with this assessment, and what are your agencies doing to mitigate the threat? And I'll start with you, Director Wray.
I would add a couple things to what Director Abizaid had to say. One is we're obviously very concerned about ISIS-K
right.
as one of the threats. Second, I think as time progresses, I am concerned that we will have fewer and fewer good sources of information about what al-Qaeda is or isn't doing in Afghanistan, so we always have to be mindful of, as Secretary Rumsfeld famously said, the known unknown.
Right.
That goes there. And then third, we are very concerned about al-Qaeda and ISIS's ability to inspire attacks even from over there. So those are a few points I would add.
Thank you. Secretary?
Senator, I think the point that my colleagues have made underscores a broader point, which is that we've spoken about the evolving threats, but we should keep in mind that the threats of the past remain the threats of the present. Only new ones have been added. And so I defer to the experts to my left.
Thank you. Now, Secretary Mayorkas, I want to move on to a different topic. Every week, a new drug seizure along the border makes headlines, but the flow of drugs across the southwest border is unrelenting. The drugs that DHS seizes accounts for just a fraction of the total that criminal organizations attempt to smuggle into our country. What specific steps is DHS taking to stem the flow of drugs crossing the border? And what additional resources are you using to address this problem? What additional resources do you need?
Senator, thank you so much. So it is a fact that the smugglers seek to transport controlled substances, illegal drugs into the United States, primarily through the ports of entry, through trucks, vehicles, and the like. And what we have done is we have surged technological resources that can most effectively detect the effort to smuggle those dangerous substances into our country. Specifically, for example, non-intrusive inspection technology, which has remarkable X-ray capabilities that can be implemented very, very swiftly. We have deployed forward operating labs so personnel scientists can detect the controlled substances and we can effect the seizure immediately and refer to law enforcement the persons who have sought to smuggle them. What we need is more resources like that, and we really hope that Congress passes our fiscal year 2023 budget. We are already 6 weeks into the new fiscal year
Right.
without the resources that we need financially to invest in that technology and deploy additional personnel as well.
Thank you. One additional question, I think, given my time to you, Secretary Mayorkas. Over the last few years, cyber attacks have plagued state and local governments and other public entities. Toward that end, as part of the bipartisan infrastructure laws, Senator Cornyn and I helped create a federal grant program for state and local entities to improve their cybersecurity. The application period for the first year of the grant program concluded just this past Tuesday. I understand that the Department of Homeland Security is still reviewing applications, but can you explain what the department's goals are for this first year of grants and how you intend to achieve them?
We are so grateful for that grant program. It's a multi-billion-dollar grant program over several years. The first year, this first year of its implementation, we are dedicating $185 million in resources to state and local governments. This is all about building their capacity to enhance the security of the cyber ecosystem. In cybersecurity, Senator, we say we are only as strong as our weakest link. And the fact of the matter is that there are target-rich and resource-poor localities that we need to strengthen. Right. And that is what this grant program is going to enable us to do.
So your goal really right now is making sure that the state and local governments that have applied get the resources they need and really focus on strengthening that level of cyber security. Is that fair to say is a priority there?
Yes, it is, Senator.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Mr. Chair.